Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to episode 11. And I've got the oh no, he's going to read to us warning jacket on, which means I'm going to be reading. It's kind of a long chapter, but it does pick up from an exciting cliffhanger a couple chapters back. Um, Before that, just a quick little interesting announcement. I have been gathering my stuff to give away and or sell because it turns out like plane tickets to Iceland and Greece and all the places I want to go are really expensive. It turns out it's been a long time since I've flown. Ouch. Anyway, um, so I'm gonna flash up my Instagram address or whatever username, and for the next like over the next week or so, I'm gonna put up like photos of my Taschen book collection and some other shit. And I'd like to gift as much as possible. I'm gonna, if it's worth a bunch of money, I'm gonna do the eBay thing and this and that. But like, you know, please know me, friends. This is for friends. If you're a stranger and you really, really want something, we can work something out. And I would, of course, love to just give everything away, but I do need to raise some dough. And I'm definitely not asking for money. I will never do that. Everyone's talking to me about doing a Patreon, which I always should have done. I don't know why I never did that. And I'm considering that, and that'd be kind of cool. Maybe give me some comments or contact me if you would participate in a Patreon for me. I guess a Patreon with me would be like, I'll just straight up show you the book as I'm working on it. I'm not sure how it works. Do I mail things out? It's on a Kickstarter, but like, I have all kind. Oh, speaking of, this is for everybody. I have. Ah, shit. I was gonna have. Maybe I'll throw it up here because it's in a portfolio over there. But like, I've done a ton of figure drawing, and a lot of it displays really pretty. It's really nice. Like I do have a friend who has one framed, and it looks, some of it's really nice. Anyway, I wanted to give all that away because no one's going to buy that, but um, a lot of it's quite pretty, and I would love to give original art out. Because Leopold and Brink is now all digital, I don't really have any. I have all the original pages of the first three comics, but they're not that good anyway. Maybe the Library of Congress page is cool, but I don't know. I guess those will be for sale one day. Anyway, okay, so that's that. I find that fun. I hope it's not too dark for people when I talk about like finality stuff because to me it's really liberating and kind of motivating, and I get to really focus on what's important, what's not. There's something really fascinating about knowing about having an expiration date. I don't know. It's working for me. I mean, again, I don't want to expire, but when everybody's gonna expire, but like when you got a real limited window, it makes you like it makes priorities real easy. Let's put it that way. Okay, here we go. I should probably have a little cup of water or something. I'll walk away and cut if I do that. But okay, so this is chapter 4. I don't remember calling it. It's called Impatient Parents, and I have no memory of naming it that. I can't even really figure out what it's referring to anymore. But this is the 4th chapter of Leopold and Brink number 4. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put up like a graphic of how this story works. Like if you were to start from scratch, how do you follow the story of Leopold and Brink? Like what do I mean by the graphic novel that I'm referring to is Leopold and Brink number 5. But both 4 and 5 really have almost no relation to the original comic other than it's kind of based on it because I did work out a lot of the plot in it, but it's just so much better and so much more complex. And so I've got like the comics, and then right when they leave off, I improve the story, but it's the same story. So like the Leopold and Brink 4 is a novel that picks up from there, and like Leopold and Brink 5 picks up from essentially somebody who has read the novel, if that makes sense. So they're like, oh, this is an interesting story. What is this comic based on? Like, anyway, I'll explain that more clearly later. But okay, so if you didn't hear that one or you're not, this picks up from when Brink was on so Leopold and Brink start their adventure in 411 Athens, Greece, before the Common Era, 5th century Athens, classical Athens. By popping up, they expected on the coast, in the water, they didn't expect any boats because in the winter, people rarely sail. But But there was a boat, and it was a private boat, which is even weirder because there's a war on, the Peloponnesian Wars going on. And the owner of this boat was, I left a mystery, and if you have any background in philosophy, it's super obvious who it was, so there's your hint. But my favorite philosopher, and a kind of key part of the plot. Also kind of, like I mentioned a while back, that the Indiana Jones movie that's out now is very similar to my novel, and you would just swap out Archimedes and this guy to have a similar like plot, kind of. Anyway, this dude's crew, who's taken him to Abdera in Ionia, far east, northeast Greece, did not trust, thought that Brink was a bad god, and wrapped her up in netting and pushed her over the side of the boat. So this chapter picks up right from there. Okay, here we go. Chapter 4, Leopold and Brink number 4. The New Angels is the name of the novel. This chapter is supposedly called Impatient Parents. Floating and confined in total blackness felt exquisitely primal until she realized she would soon drown. And then all manner of difficulties would begin. Letting out precious air to orient herself, she untangled herself from the net, dragged her powerful arms through the black water, and once again broke the surface of the Aegean Sea. She considered shouting at the boat, which was disappearing around the jagged southern coast of Attica, but it felt counterproductive. There was a lot to think about, and some alone time seemed invaluable. Leopold was in good hands. Leopold was still on the boat. Is still on the boat. Her flowing robe made swimming an extra chore, so she slipped out of it, tied it around her middle, and made for shore. The water was bone-chilling and the air worse when she climbed out onto a smooth rock at the base of the cliffside. The same cliffside, she was more than a little excited to note, that gave the sea its name after the legendary suicide of Medea's ex-husband and king of Athens, Aegeus. She wrung out her drenched strap as if washing the blood of the monarch off the rocks, then had a seat. He killed himself because he'd made a deal with his son, Theseus, who was returning from dispatching the Minotaur. His floppy-haired hero's son told his dad he'd replace the ship's black flag with a white one, so he knew his father would know he succeeded and not to worry. When Aegeus saw the black flag flying, he jumped. Hearing the story as a child, Brink found the monarch's lack of patience infuriatingly ridiculous. Oh, impatient parents. That's part of the chapter title. It turned out Theseus, like most boys, just abrogated the chore of changing flags. A droopy moon threw gray light on the long walls of the settlement above her. So Union's role during the war between Athens and Sparta was to play repository for the nearby silver mines. The existence of the fortification pleased her. It was physical evidence that she and Leopold had arrived in the right time. But that meant the old man was, as suspected, a troubling anomaly. She got to work poring over the data to explain what had gone wrong. But eventually, sitting naked at the base of a rocky cliff, her shivering body became too distracting. The wall was lower where the cliff added natural defense. Spartans never attacked one at a time, so she felt somewhat safe with her movements and decided to make her way up the precipice. Her hazelnut skin made her almost invisible against the winter grass and tan earth. When she reached the top and pulled herself carefully atop the wall, Poseidon, lit by oil lamps, was there to greet her, a massive statue inside a marble temple, glowing brightly as if cut out of the black night around it. She turned to mirror his possessive look over the Mediterranean. She thought about the solemn significance to Poseidon's position, who at the far southern end of the peninsula where powerful Athens was, he both protected her great naval power and looked into an already ancient past, a time when he and the life-giving power of the sea was far more significant than the mental electric Zeus. Brink knew that the geologic history of the region, how the Mediterranean filled in 5 million years ago, and how Africa will eventually crush it against Europe 50 million years from now. But she found that no matter how much time she spent preparing for the single week she planned to spend near the end of Athens' golden age, she could barely wrap her head around how much there was to know. It was January, minus 411. By that date, all the Greek gods and goddesses were already ancient. The legends generations past. Athens was little more than a village when the island culture to the south flourished. The story of Theseus' voyage to save the children of Athens from being killed by the Minotaur at the center of the labyrinth was about that power shift. Worship of the bull was strong everywhere in the ancient world. In Minoan Crete, there was a dangerous competition amongst elite children who performed ritual bull leaping and other cow-centric tricks, a kind of highly religious Olympic rodeo, long before there were cowboys and even long before there was Olympics. The palace where the games took place was elaborate design, especially to foreign competitors. The Athenian kids could certainly think of the experience as if being in a maze. That strange true history turned into the far stranger myth. King Minos was foolish enough to try and keep a beautiful white bull that was supposed to be sacrificed for the god of the sea. An enraged Poseidon had Daedalus create a mechanical bull suit and put Minos' wife inside. The queen became pregnant from the white bull, and their child, the Minotaur, was forced to live at the center of yet another Daedalus' inventions, the labyrinth, this time directed by an enraged King Minos. After a war with Athens, Minos forced the small northern settlement to send 9 kids a year to be eaten by his stepson, resolved only when the Athenian king sends his son to kill the Minotaur. When Brink distractedly thought about the mother of the bull, Pasiphae, I don't know how to pronounce that, and whether she loved her son, her musings were concluded abruptly by 2 heavy hands grabbing her waist and yanking her down from the wall. 2 guards wore an expression of desire and confusion. "Cover yourself," said one, unfastening his cape and tossing it her way. "Who do you belong to?" asked the other. "This deliciously warm cape, sir," she said, her teeth chattering. There was nothing metaphorical about how this evening would end if she stuck around, so with a thank you and a polite wave goodbye, she took a few bounding steps, hopped back over the wall, and scurried off into the dark landscape. She settled into a comfortable patch of sloped land surrounded by an abundance of dry kindling. Using strips of fiber of her robe, a strong stick, rocks, pressure, and a well-designed pit, she had a fire in a few minutes. The night's spectral light and the blurry orange heat gave the surrounding hills the look of lazy, snoozing monsters. She felt like joining them. She draped her clothing over a bush, then got cozy. She was a naked woman sitting alone, blinded to the world around her by her own fire. It was difficult to hide the light since there was nothing but shrub-sized foliage around. Cascading hills her only real cover. But she was far from the fortification, and they were unlikely to bother her. Unfortunately, the inhabitants of Cell Union weren't the only souls in the area. She'd been the focus of several sets of eyes peering at her from the darkness shortly after the fire was lit. The only thing that kept the staring men from attacking was, once again, her face. Generally, Greek men regarded women as incomplete men, laughable and good for little more than care of the home. Brink's appearance forced these men to reconsider their position on the matter. There are very few first-person accounts of humans meeting gods, 0 in fact, in Greek literature. So if a strange-looking woman was alone in the countryside at night, the thinking was most likely that she was being punished, insane, some inexplicable barbarian, a slave, or lost. Though it crossed many of their minds that she could be a god, it was quickly dismissed. These men had seen too much of the world. They whispered amongst themselves about her value. It was undeniable that she was beautiful and her body was of a popular shape at the time, especially for the current market. Tall but wide-hipped with a big round bottom. Under normal circumstances, Brink could outrun almost anyone, but her fabric had dried and she wrapped herself for maximum comfort and minimum movement. It was too late to correct the absurd defensive blunder she'd made. She was grabbed, hooded, and tied firmly before she had time to get free and put up a fight. Hoping for local boys out for a quick joyride, Brink was disappointed to once again hear the whine and creak of planks. From their language and smell, she concluded she'd been nabbed by an adversary she completely failed to consider. Ancient pirates. She was kept in a cage for the night, her captors quickly learning after broken bones and several dislodged teeth she was not a woman to be allowed too much freedom. That's it. I thought it was a much longer chapter. All right. Well, tons more action after that. Okay. I showed you video stuff. I guess let's do some... What can I show you? I'm showing you now, so I don't know what it's going to be until I do this wrap up. But thank you again for joining me. Again, please let me know if you don't like the reading. I'm actually thinking of doing like a master cut of me reading, because I don't think I'm going to read the entire novel, because that is a mega bad move financially. But you know, maybe half the novel I'll put in one video for people who do like it, and they can just experience it in one go. But thanks again. Love you all, and I will see you soon.